There are 5 things that I'm seeing great profitable e-commerce businesses do that you probably aren't doing. I'm going to go through all 5 of them right now. Really actionable episode today of things that if you're not doing, you should think seriously about doing in your business. All right, number 1, you are probably not launching enough products. I am just convinced. This is an overwhelming takeaway for me from recent Profit Monsters episodes I've done, my conversation with Nate Lagos recently, my conversation with McCoy Merkley recently, my conversation with Isaac Mertens from Flux Footwear. It's just clear to me that great brands in the mid 8 figures are launching products and seeing it make a really big difference in their business. And it's not just from those brands, it's also from the clients that I am working with, particularly. Multiple of my clients right now, at least 3 of the 4 in some way are increasing their product launch velocity or the seriousness with which they launch products and the efforts around launching products, because it is such an important part of the business. And so much of the conversation right now from people like me included is about building a sort of like creative and ad launching system, a supply chain for your creative. And that is totally right. And what I think is lots of brands are actually doing that now. They're integrating AI. They're thinking about how to generate more products, generate more ads, launch those ads in a way that makes sense in their business. And I'm hearing more and more from brands who are building systems to launch a whole bunch of ads. And that's awesome. And they should keep doing that. What I want brands to do is think the same way about product launch from a project management setup. Like, how do you use tools and people to launch as many products as possible without increasing too much risk in your business of SKU proliferation? So there's some things that can go really wrong here. Okay, let's be really clear about that. But it's just by far the highest upside thing you can do in your business is launch new products in many, many cases. And in some businesses, it's really the only way to seriously drive LTV in your business. And so finding a way to launch products in low risk ways is really crucial. And first, let me just say, here's why I think you should be doing this. One obvious part of launching products is that it's a way to generate retention value in your business, right? And if you're an apparel business or a fashion business or anything like that, where people are going to buy multiple things from you, if you're selling various books or any kind of media, anything like that, launching new products is the way to generate LTV. Like, it just is. As you have product launches alongside with promotional moments, that is going to give reasons for customers to come back and buy from you. And what I see from a lot of these businesses is that if you look at the very long tail of LTV, you'll see this amazing thing where if you can get great at launching products and launching more products over time, continuing to find ways to launch products that your customers love, you'll see incredibly long tails of LTV. Again, especially like in apparel businesses. I'll see brands where it's like they get, an 80% value increase from a customer in year 1, but then it'll be another 60% in year 2. And then that 60% will hold year 3, year 4, et cetera. And those customers, they don't degrade in their value over time, partly because brands get better at launching more products over time. So the natural degradation that would happen is met with increased cadence of launching. And if customers love your brand, and if they love your product, they will keep coming back over a very long period of time. And so apparel businesses, and again, not just apparel businesses, but there are some of the cases where I've seen this the most often, or the most emphatically with this strategy. They'll end up generating very long tails of value, and that means very profitable value in their business because, of course, acquiring customers is the lowest margin kind of customer you can get as a general rule. New customers require ad spend in most cases. And while you may allocate some ad spend to returning customers, in fact, I do for most businesses, and I think you should, especially as you launch new products, especially in a business like, again, an apparel business or anything like that has a similar dynamic of a need for people to buy more and different kinds over time and build out collections, et cetera. I think, spending money to promote those new products to audiences that are not checking your email anymore is a good idea, but it's still much less money. The CAC is much lower on those customers than it would be on new customers. And so it's highly profitable revenue. And so if you want to get great at building that business, that's really important. But the second part of it is so critical. And it's not just that it's a retention strategy. It is, as you've heard people say on this show, and go back and listen to the episodes I mentioned before, if not, it's such a crucial part of reaching new audiences and new customers on Facebook and other channels that you're working with, influencer seeding, which we'll talk about more in a minute. It just is clearly the case that having new products gives you new shots to take in the ad account. And if you're stuck and you're stalled out, it's possible that the reason you're stuck and stalled out is not about ad creative at all. Actually, it's about launching new products and building a machine to do that. Okay. Because when you have a new product, now you have new ads and new things to promote in your ad account, and you can reach new audiences with that. I've watched this happen up close over and over and over again. And I've realized I haven't talked about it quite enough individually on a solo episode like this. You got to build a system for it. And there's a couple things you got to look out for as you build that system to do this well. Okay. Number one, try to work with a manufacturer. And this is a hard challenge. We'll talk more about supply chains in a minute. But if you can build your supply chain in such a way that you can generate low MOQs, okay, and relatively fast timelines to product release, right? Between not only the time that it takes to make the product, but the time that it takes to ship the product to you. So that means maybe if you could have domestic manufacturing or not overseas manufacturing, that gets cut down. Anything you can do, and that's variously available in different manufacturing setups, right? So, but still, anything you can do to shorten the timeline to launch. If you can add, terms to financing this kind of inventory, right? Basically, to make it less financially risky for you to launch your products, to hammer away your supply chain to do this, so that you don't have to order too many of them, so that you don't have to pay too much money up front for them. If you can make it happen, and so that you don't have to wait too long to get those products. If you can do that in your supply chain, if you can effort that, that's hard, but if you could do it, you have an opportunity to de-risk the process of launching products. And if you can add a fourth thing, you can really get somewhere. And that is a way to clear out dead and slow-moving inventory. Because the thing that can go wrong with launching a lot of products is that you have SKUs that don't do well. In fact, for sure, some of them won't do well. And you should plan your process so that when products don't go well, you can get rid of them and turn them back into cash. That's actually a really important part of the product launch process. It's not just about launching products and building creative and generating assets and all those kinds of things. It's also about the ability to turn slow-moving ones into cash so that you aren't stuck with it, so that you de-risk it even more, and you now can take more shots at it. If you ever listen to me talk about manual bidding on Meta, part of the thing I love about it so much is that it allows you to generate a whole bunch of creative with very little risk that you're going to spend bad money having to test that creative. And by de-risking the financials of that setup, you then have the incentive to launch more creative. The exact same dynamic is at play here with product launches. If you can de-risk the production of products, if you can find ways, there's all kinds of things here. If you can shoot your assets when you launch products overseas somewhere. My friend James Lee on X has talked about this. I'll try to put a link in the show notes for that. He has a whole business. I'm not sponsored by him, but he's just been awesome and complimentary. Like, James has built a business where he's like shooting products overseas with Western models so that they can generate assets for new products and for ads and all those kinds of things at a much lower cost. Like, that's a really important thing, because if you can lower the cost of a product launch, again, it de-risks the whole thing so that when products don't go well, and lots of them won't, you have an opportunity. But if you don't get stuck, okay? And that means anything you can do to build that process, you can be in really good shape for doing it. So if you're able to do that, then you have the most opportunities possible now to generate value, not only with past customers, but with future customers. And if you could do that in a way that's de-risked, it's really helpful. The all-time example of this that I've ever heard, to give you some, thing to look forward to or to try to build towards in the future, is from ColourPop, the makeup company. I've told this story before, but if I haven't told it for a while, so it's a helpful one to remember. I remember touring ColourPop's offices, and they actually had a manufacturing facility like in their office, basically, like to where they could generate new styles, new colors, new shades of different products, and get them from basically idea to live on their website. And it was something like 8 days. Like, it was like extremely fast. Or maybe it wasn't that. It was they could test it on their website and see how it performed. and go from individual idea to mass production in like 8 days. So they would be able to, they built it so they could test extremely fast and extremely cheap, make very little of the product. And if some product took off, they could mass produce it really quickly. And so they built a system to launch products D2C as quickly and as aggressively as possible to go from idea all the way through mass production, get those out in front of people. And it powered this machine to where they just stacked high performing product on high performing product until they had built a 9-figure business like before that was even a thing. I mean, this is like years ago that I had heard of them as a 9-figure D2C business. That was so rare at the time. Now you see more of them, but at the time it was so rare. And it was because of that engine. That's going to be a really hard thing to reproduce, right? That's a lot of things, but I just give it to you as an example of the way to think about the problem. The more you can do that, the better you can do it. And I'll just tell you, one part of this, I would prioritize lower MOQs, better terms, faster lead times, shorter lead times. I would prioritize those over unit cost with my manufacturer if I was trying to build this, because I'm willing to pay a little bit more in unit cost if it allows me to test cheaper and faster in total dollars. Okay. And it would allow you to test cheaper if you can get the MOQ down, et cetera, and less of a cash risk. So as you think about negotiating, as you think about working with a manufacturer, that's the case. You may also have to pitch your manufacturer on this. If you can show them this is the way you're thinking, give them vision for how their help in executing that vision with you can help you do the thing that you're trying to accomplish so that you can ultimately get them to mass production. That's where they make their money, by the way, is in mass production. So if you can get them to have vision for that and see how they can be a partner in it and see how they can bear some of the risk and some of the cost in doing that in order to get you to that mass production stage, you might really be able to make that happen. All right. So launching enough products. Okay. So that's number one. You need to be launching more products. Number two, price testing. This is something that really strikes me. I've been really stuck on this for a little while. And that's for a couple reasons. One of them is I have watched, and it's really price and offer testing on like your site-wide stuff. I've watched one of my clients in particular repeatedly run offer tests and just hammer away slowly but surely at core metrics in his business by doing that. And in this case, in this particular case, it hasn't necessarily been like overwhelming, but he's taken some products and gotten little 5 to 10% margin increases over time by just repeatedly running these. And it's been things like he takes one product where it's like a higher value product. It's really hard to figure out where it should be priced relative to the rest of his collection, because there's not really a lot of other products in the market like it. And so he sort of picked the price out of thin air, and then he ran a test with INTELLIGEMS and ran 3 versions of it and did like twice the price that he was at right away, half the price, and started to measure out how that impacted order size. One of the really fascinating things we actually found out in this business, we also changed the offer test a lot. Like he had the sort of standard 10% off for every customer. Then he tried like a buy more, save more offer, going from 10% off for every new customer to like a buy more, save more, to where you could get up to 30% off site-wide if you were adding enough stuff to your cart, right? And that was a really big, that was a really interesting test where it was like 8% profit increase per visitor by adding that test. That made a really big difference. As he did that, one of the things that became really fascinating to us is that we found that basically no matter how we priced our products, new customers were spending about the same amount of money. They just were building collections differently, right? So it was like, let's just call it $100 for easy math, okay? So it was like, if you priced one part of the collection that they were buying, and this is a brand where customers are buying multiple products, okay, with pretty much every order, just the nature of the product is like that. If you priced product A twice as high as it was before, it wasn't pushing the AOV up. It was just changing the way they bought products and what products they included. Or if you did that site-wide discount offer, it wasn't necessarily changing how much money they were spending. It was just changing how many products they were adding. So we came to the conclusion that customers had about $100, let's call it again, to spend no matter what you did. And the question was how to provide the most value back to the customer for that $100 in a way that also provided the most value back to us. Like, what is the right sort of equilibrium of those two things where the mix of conversion rate and margin and around that AOV all hit? And he did that by price testing, and he did it over time. And the price testing is not done, and the offer testing is not done. changing individual prices of products, changing the site-wide offer really mattered. It's not fast work necessarily, but it has yielded really interesting insights, not only at the level of like how to generate more profit, but how to think about the customer, how to think about the business, how to think about what they want. Really, really fascinating. And we also saw, by the way, interesting things there with differences in the way new and returning customers behave. They have really different buying patterns for this particular brand. And so again, same thing there. And there's going to be a bunch more of it and a bunch more insights. And then of course, my conversations with Nate Lagos, this has really hit me a lot. Like hearing Nate say that they have price tested over and over and over again at different moments for 3 years in their business is just insanity. And that they know at any given time that they're pricing the best. They, making big swings, doing this methodically across their collection. If you are in the tariff land right now and you're struggling and trying to figure out what to do, I just have to tell you, you of all people should be price testing, right? Because what you don't know, and by the way, like test the way you frame this. If you want to do the thing where like you show like a tariff surcharge as a separate line item on the bill or whatever, like go for it. But find different ways to test this kind of thing, because you may be able to add a bunch of margin to your business, and actually the easiest way possible, and that way is just raising the price. Or you may be overcharging meaningfully because you heard somebody say that AOV was important, so you pushed up, but actually you're just crushing your conversion rate because your price too high and your price is more elastic than you thought, and that's not great for you, whatever. And so you find that out over time, and it can make such a big difference for your margin. People just underrate how big of a factor price is in the margin composition of the brand. If your cost of delivery is 40% of your revenue, of your average order value, well, what happens if you raise the average order value by 20%, or if you raise the price by 20%? Who knows what happens to the AOV if you raise the price? You may actually be able to get a whole bunch of margin back, even if it takes a little conversion hit, et cetera. That profit per visitor thinking is the way to think about your products. And I just increasingly think that's the way to do. It's a really important part, how smart businesses operate and grow quickly. Okay. Now pair that with the product testing and you can really get somewhere, right? Because when you launch new products, you're gonna have to figure out what the right price is. I've been working with INTELLIGEMS for a few months now, and one of my favorite things about talking with the people at INTELLIGEMS is all they want me to talk about is what they call operational excellence. That is what they care about. What they care about is making it so that it is easier for operators to operate with operational excellence. And they mean something really specific by that. They mean the ability to generate profitable D2C businesses. And the way INTELLIGEMS does that is by being the tool you use for serious profit-focused testing on your website. That's every part of the customer experience where they're touching your website. Things like simple CRO, they can do that for you if you think that is where the opportunity is, but it's way beyond that. You can test things like your average free shipping threshold, your site-wide offers, which is something I've talked about a lot, including on this episode. Talk about price testing. You can actually test the price of your products live. Again, something I'm talking about on this very episode because it's so important to me and becoming such a crucial part of the playbook that I am working on. INTELLIGEMS is easy to install. It works smoothly and quickly. They've got great support. You can go to intelligems.io to get started with it today, and you can get 20% off your first 3 months by using the code FARIS20, F-A-R-I-S 20, intelligems.io. Ultimately, what you want to do is drive more profit per visitor. That's going to drive profit in the bottom line, and it's going to drive scale at the same time. And so you can do that across your entire website with INTELLIGEMS. Go check it out today. Get serious about testing all of the aspects of the way customers are interacting with your site at INTELLIGEMS, intelligems.io. Okay, number 3, target ROAS campaigns. This is a really specific meta ads tactic, and I'm just amazed at how little I see this still. I'm just going to say again, and I've got a target ROAS episode. I will link it in the show notes. And so check the show notes there if you want a full breakdown of this. But, probably 65 to 70% of the money that my clients spend at this point is on target ROAS campaigns. If you don't know, target ROAS campaigns are a variation of highest value bidding on meta ads. So most people are defaulting into highest volume bidding, what used to be called lowest cost, okay? Where the optimization that you're telling Meta is, I want the lowest CAC possible. That's the highest volume, lowest cost approach. And you may use a bid cap or a cost cap as a way of manually bidding that approach, but the optimization for those is the same. Whether it's auto bid, bid cap, or cost cap, it is a lowest CAC optimization, okay? A highest value optimization is a different way of telling Meta what to do, which is telling Meta, go get the highest value customer possible. Your CPM is very likely to spike when you do this because you're asking Meta to go up market to higher value customers. Your AOV is also likely to go up depending on your product mix and your category and those things. This may be a lot, it may be a little, but it often really, really works. And if you run highest value bids, you can run them with a target ROAS setting. So just like a cost cap is a way of dynamically bidding for an average, manually bidding, but dynamically still for an average CAC outcome, a target ROAS bid is a way to dynamically bid for an average ROAS outcome. Okay, so you can control your highest value bid with that. And most accounts I look at are still running none of this. The simple version of this, and there are, again, go, if you want to check this out, go check my other episode. It's really important. And you should just, at this point, subscribe to this show if you like this advice. I give a lot of highly tactical meta input that I'm seeing with my clients all the time. So just subscribe wherever you're watching or listening. Like, comment on this video, all the normal stuff, right? So that you can, I'm happy to interact with you about it in the comments as well. I try to answer all the comments that I can. You should go check that video for the full breakdown of this so you don't miss any of it. But run target ROAS ads by just taking your best performing ads from your highest volume campaigns and just launching them target ROAS. Just duplicate the campaign. You just use the exact same structure. If you're running ASC, run ASC. If you're running BAU, run BAU. Use all the exact same structure that you want to use, but run target ROAS ads. I find it is meaningfully additive to brands' total spend. It increases the spend that they are reaching. Like it really just takes your ads and reaches more people, because if everybody exists on some kind of a continuum between lower CAC, lower value customers, and higher CAC, higher value customers, if you're only optimizing for lowest CAC, okay, then you are ultimately leaving some of those high value customers on the table, which is silly. Go get the other ones too. Go get both sides of the spectrum and do that with different optimizations in Meta. Again, most brands I look at are not actually running this right now, and that's a mistake. Go run it. If your agency's not running it, tell them to run it. If you're an agency, learn to run it for your brands. Go do those things, okay? All right. Number 4, supply chain optimization. Another thing where brands, I'm really hoping, I've said this before, but I'm really hoping that the big upshot of tariffs, here's like the dream scenario for me. Tariffs are a short-term problem, and the short-term problem is met or is dealt with by e-commerce operators with long-term thinking about their supply chains. And that in that process, they build better, healthier, faster, more efficient, cheaper, and still super high quality product supply chains. You can do this. And so many people are not doing it at all. They're just sort of working with their one manufacturer and they're not thinking about moving. It's a huge job. Moving your supply chain, moving manufacturers takes months and months and months. It's an ongoing job. You might need somebody on your team dedicated to it. But man, margin is a superpower, and speedy and good, efficient cash flow in your business is a superpower, and it will make everything else you do easier, especially as you grow, especially if you're trying to launch new products. This all the way gets also all the way into your logistics and your 3PL relationships. I'm just astounded at how much value there is to be captured for brands by approaching their supply chain and thinking, how can I make this better? And so much of the key to this is really set up in 2 things. One of them is talk to more manufacturers. Okay. This is the big miss that I think happens all the time. Okay. Talk to more manufacturers. It's just, you're never going to really get to a great supply chain if you're just shopping one manufacturer or 5 manufacturers or whatever. There are a lot of good quality manufacturers in the world, in China and elsewhere. Okay. Aside from tariffs. And if you are not talking to more of them, you're just for sure leaving the possibilities on the table of what's possible for your business. Once you've done that, you don't have to go constantly try to hold that manufacturer hostage and tell them you're going to quit. Be a loyal customer, but find somebody who's good, who you trust, who you can work with, and figure out ways to work together. And this is the second thing, is to figure out ways to work together to help their business and yours. And part of that probably means at some point, you or a team member or representative from your team getting on a plane and going to visit your manufacturer in person. Probably should be you at some point, and probably should be a team member multiple times a year. That's what I would say. A couple times a year probably is the way to do this, at least once a year. Get involved with those people to where you show them that you actually care about their business. And then you give them vision for how your business and your relationship creates value for their business, and then figure out where they can help. This is one of the things that always strikes me when I talk to Maytab Bogle about this, is he just says, like, if you can help manufacturing partners see that, hey, you might have access to better financing than I do. So why don't you get that better financing? You can even pass that cost to me, but still do it so that you're financing me instead of me doing it elsewhere and slowing my growth. Or you have access to different relationships with raw material suppliers than I do. And if I just take the turnkey out of the box raw materials supplier that you give me, then maybe that's not that helpful. Maybe I can actually help you go find better ones who fit and whatever. There's all of these details of the way these businesses work that can make it so that everybody wins together. And if you can give them vision for that and help that, you can save a bunch of money. I've talked to brands that have saved like huge amounts of money, and they're on their cost of delivery, on their COGS, on their shipping relationships, on their 3PL relationships, all over the place, by just really efforting this seriously, aggressively. Now, I know it's a big job. I know it's hard. And that's why, you have to think about where the best help is in your business, whether that's bringing on supply chain help, or whether that's you taking that on and bringing on different help in different places in the business, so you can take your mentality elsewhere, or you can take your mental energy elsewhere. But you've got to do it. Building at some point, better quality supply chain just has massive second and third tier consequences in your business to make it so that everything runs better and easier and at a higher margin. And the businesses that I talk to that are doing a great job running really profitably are doing a great job building great supply chains as part of it. So that's number 4. I love Move Supply Chain. I'm building my supply chain for the business that I'm starting with Move Supply Chain, and they're amazing. Let me tell you a recent example. After sourcing like 60 manufacturers and 20 or 30 more packaging manufacturers, when we were starting to dream up the idea for my company, something happened, which you might have heard about, which is tariffs. And therefore, suddenly, the packaging manufacturers, which were in China, and packaging is the most expensive part of this product, became potentially less viable. And so Move Supply Chain reached back out to me and said, hey, why don't we take the lead on going and looking in Vietnam for alternatives? I'm getting my first sample back very soon at the same price as I was going to get it from in China, and with a shorter lead time. So we're going to see. I got to get the sample back and make sure it's good. But if they can replicate it without me moving a finger to get this done, they just reached out and said, we are going to handle that for you. Move Supply Chain is a supply chain agency that will help you source manufacturers, negotiate deals, source 3PLs, do everything that they can to bring their many years of supply chain experience to your brand to help you optimize your supply chain, save money, shorten lead times, reduce MOQs, all the things that make your business run smoothly and efficiently. And they're going to do it from where they are in the Philippines, which means it is affordable for you as well. These are run by my most trusted partners in all of e-commerce. They're a sister company of More Staffing, who you've heard me talk about before. Sister company of Behind the Scenes Studios. In every way, I am engaging with these people across every part of my business, and they are making it better. If you want to make your supply chain better, you should go work with Move Supply Chain. Go do that at movesupplychain.com. Start looking at whether it's tariff focused or not. Start looking at how to save money in your supply chain. I've sent people to them who have reduced their COGS by 30%, just huge value increases by working with them. Take a call, see if it's right for you, see if they can make some things happen. movesupplychain.com. Number 5, last but not least, this is something that is a slower growth, but this came directly from my conversation with Shireen Aubert recently, where Shireen and I were talking about how can smaller brands, 7-figure e-commerce brands, that stage of business, and this is really who I'm thinking of for a lot of this, the sort of $3 to $5 million brand that's trying to figure out how to grow next. These are the things they should be adding, okay? How can 7-figure brands and who cannot just go burn money on quote unquote brand marketing that takes a very long time to pay off, et cetera, how can they think about brand marketing in their business? And as we were talking, what became clear to me is that influencer seeding and building influencer relationships at that stage of business is a really cost-effective, high-performing way to do the earliest stages of brand marketing. And the reason why is if you can get to a point where you can send out a lot of products to influencers, you can do that for really inexpensively, right? Bring on a team member, from the Philippines with my friends at More Staffing, something like that, right? Whose job it is to do this. I've got a client who's doing exactly this. They have a team member in the Philippines, really talented woman who's great, who's chasing down influencers all the time, seeding product all the time. And we're collecting tons and tons of content, running that content in the ad account. This is the old Kinship playbook. If you know Cody Whittick and Taylor Lagasse from Kinship, like great guys who have had on the show, they can help you actually operate this if you reach out to them. Like, you seed a bunch of product. And the reason this is important is because as influencers post over time, over a long enough period of time, what's going to happen is you'll get some value from those posts, but you'll also begin to build relationships. You'll see some content come through that you think is particularly good content, and you can keep seeding those influencers. You'll see who's really excited about your product versus just who throws a post up. You'll be able to use those posts in your ad account and feed other parts of it. And again, thousands of posts over time, which you will get if you seed, thousands of posts over time end up generating meaningful amounts of impressions from influencers that people are following, even if they're not huge influencers. You can use that to also get your feel for how influencer marketing really works. And as you do that, that allows you to move up market with influencers with a general sense of the value creation. You can start to build whitelisting relationships. This is a slower build. It's not going to happen right away, but it's usually pretty cost effective between the labor costs and the cost of sending your product to people. And you can also have a real performance return on this because that content gets used as assets in ads that you make, whether you just use it for B-roll or that you just push that stuff through your manual bids, through your ROAS campaigns and your bid cap campaigns, if you're following my content, right into the ad account. And some of that stuff will move product right away. Do that a lot over a very long period of time with your core customer, especially if you're in a more niche demographic or niche community or a tighter community where there's a bunch of folks who are following the same kinds of people over and over. You'll show up over and over and over again in those places, and you'll start to see all of that that pay off over more time. You'll build good relationships, and then you also won't be stuck trying to find an influencer when you're ready to do it. Being, you finally got some money on hand, and you start to go like, okay, how do I do influencer marketing? How, what kind of deal should I sign? These people have never heard of me. If they give me content where it's clear they've never used the product, all of those things that happen when people get into influencer marketing too late. Get your product into the hands of people who are making good content on the internet in your communities, in the communities that your customers are in, and start collecting lots and lots of it. Build the muscle for it, build the team for it, build tracking for it, all those teams, all those things. And you do that and you'll see a relatively short-term performance lift at the same time as you build a much larger performance lift, especially across all of your channels. So that's it. 5 things you should be doing in your business. You can't do them all right now. You can't turn the ship that fast, no matter how lean you are. But number 1, launch more products. Number 2, price testing. Number 3, ROAS campaigns. Number 4, supply chain optimization. Number 5, product seeding and influencer relationships. Those are the things to be thinking about. If you're not doing those, start thinking about them. Like I said, don't only like this video and subscribe to what I'm doing, but comment here if you've got thoughts about this. What did I get right? What did I get wrong? I'd love to see that in the comments on this video. And yeah, thanks so much. Thanks so much for watching or listening to this episode of the Andrew Ferris podcast. You can reach out to me not only in the comments, but at podcast@ajfgrowth.com. I would absolutely love to hear from you there. So do email me, and I see all of those. And reach out to me on X @AndrewJFerris. Love to see you there as well. Don't forget to follow up with both of my sponsors. They are great. Move Supply Chain and INTELLIGEMS. Move Supply Chain is the place to go work on your supply chain. Even as I said in this episode, they are great. They are people who are building and who have built my supply chain for a brand that I'm starting. I trust them completely. And go to INTELLIGEMS.io to get 20% off your first 3 months working with INTELLIGEMS to do price testing, offer testing, and all the other operationally excellent profit-focused things you can do to drive profit in your business. INTELLIGEMS.io, Ferris20, FARS20 gets you 20% off your first 3 months. And just tell them I sent you. If you forget the code, that's fine. Or if you spell my name wrong, that's fine too. Okay, thanks so much for watching or listening. So many good episodes coming up you're not going to want to miss. Born Primitive CEO Bear Hanlon is coming. Will from IQ Bar, just so many bars and things in the food and bev kind of space. Just monster business there. I've got all kinds of good stuff coming. Bill D'Alessandro talking about the sale of his business, Natural Dog Co., which I've been working on for the last year and a half. So don't miss those. You're going to want to hit them. I'll see you next time. You get the idea. Talk to you soon.